Thunderdome is a hackathon or game jam. At the time the first Thunderdome happened, ARAM was already a thing built by our community, and it was something that dozens of rioters were playing every day. We loved playing with the house rules of only going down mid lane in Summoner's Rift, but ARAM as a custom game had some problems.
It was just kind of frustrating to set up. You had to go through the custom game browser, you had to make sure everybody knew the rules, you had to make sure people respected the rules, but you could never really guarantee that you would see it all the way to the end. The hope going into Thunderdome first was, can we even do this in 3 days?
Basically, by the end of day one, we had our playtest up and running.
On the second day, they started doing balance tuning.
You spent days 2 and 3 just playing the game and gathering people who would walk by and having them play too. And that generated so much buzz.
You could just hear from people who were sitting on the computers how much they were enjoying the experience.
At the very end of Thunderdome, there was a voting process for the most promising ideas. And then when they announced ARAM as number 1, we knew that we had gotten the attention of everyone across Riot.
After the Thunderdome happened, it kind of like hung out in unknown limbo land for a little while, and then we got the opportunity to pick it up as a side project.
We only were given 6 weeks, and so we'd work on different things about the game at the same time to be able to make progress. We decided not to use Summoner's Rift, but instead to use the tutorial map.
Proving Grounds.
League's art style when we started, it was pretty rough. We would have these giant brainstorms of all the words that define League's art style into one. It came together pretty quickly after we had Lysandra as matron saint of the map, and that narrative helped us really work with a vision. We arrived at a Grimsy, which was aggressive whimsy.
At that point, our concept lead, doing some random sketches on his desk of this ball of fluff that was kind of round, mostly a mouth with a heart on its belly. People really liked this little creature.
When we pulled them in as gameplay features, we used minions to kind of represent the poros. So they would do funny stuff for a while. They would block skill shots, the Nexus laser, also targeting poros for a while. When Snowball became a thing, poros would follow you around if you had charges of the Snowball spell. So you could kind of get this little poro train going.
Our designer would just throw more and more poros at it. It's like, oh, maybe there should be a poro in this bush. Oh, maybe there should be a poro over here. Oh, maybe there should be a poro in the rafters. These little fuzzballs, this is how we make this game whimsical and fun while everything else is going on. When ARAM started development in earnest, I was more foolhardy than fearful. Yeah, we just like change the variables in the code, we do a few tweaks here, change some numbers, I'll be fine. Yeah, no. The codebase in League of Legends at that time was spaghetti soup. You would pull one thing and everything else would fall apart. About week 3, we were still pulling our hair out to try and convince the stupid engine to let us have only a single lane with minions on it at a time. There were issues with the map just being longer than Summoner's Rift, and that changed the timing of a whole bunch of things. We tried to make things more balanced by changing the amount of gold that the player would get ambiently, and that was throwing off the balance of characters. And about 5 weeks into this 6-week experiment, we all kind of hated what we were making. Playtests were not fun. We couldn't figure out what was going on. And I remember on a Tuesday night, we went in and it was like, well, I don't know, let's drop the death timer by 2 seconds at every level. And it was like flicking a light switch. It all just started magically working. Something about that small of a change meant that players were getting back to the fight in the right amount of time, but there still was a window to push when you took down a team, that minion waves were lining up more so you weren't always just running down by yourself. I've never in my entire development experience seen a single number change of such a small amount have such a big impact. We did a playtest the next day just in case we were on crazy pills, and it was still fun. For that last 4 or 5 days, we just burned down as many bugs in the game that we could and got it in a place we could ship to players. Players were surprised. It was kind of just shadow dropped in the patch. We didn't even refer to it as ARAM at the point.
We weren't sure what to call it because we didn't want to call it the Proving Grounds anymore, but we did end up calling it the Murder Bridge for internal playtests. It just stuck.
And all of that came from just a few players coming together and playing something that they love. It's always valuable to remember that we're all creators. Good ideas can come from anywhere. And some of the best ideas in League of Legends and through every game it writes often comes from our players.